take a shot.
It's nice to see you guys again. Today's video is gonna be short.
That's what she said.
I'm just gonna talk about algae control. There's tons of videos online explaining how to control algae. There is one made by MD Fish Tank. I recommend you guys to check that out. Basically, my experience is quite similar to his. I will just briefly explain how I control algae. Tank behind me is a 60 breeder. I have a video, you guys can check that out. Step by step setting up a 60 gallon. This tank is a low tech tank. I'm not using CO2. I'm not using any, fancy light. The lights I got from Amazon. I also did a video about these two lights, Algae and Night Crew. You guys can also check that out if you guys trying to decide which one you should get. First of all, I just want to let you know that your tank will always have algae, no matter what. No matter how hard you do maintenance, how much CO2 you use, you do water change every day, there will always be algae. It's a constant battle. And I think a healthy tank should have algae as long as it's not taking over the tank. Algae is part of nature, so it should exist. My tank also has algae, as you can see on this Amazon sword. And previously, before these floating plants take over, there was some hair algae on the stem plants as well. And the second thing we need to understand is that the algae and the plants, they are competition and they can coexist as well. Theoretically, if you have more plants and your plants doing well, you will have less algae. So when people encounter algae issue, the first recommendation I give is to add more plants if the plants you have right now are doing well. Otherwise, the algae issue might even get worse, because if your plants are not doing well, plants die, they decay, and then they become nutrients for the algae. If you have plants in your tank right now and they're doing fine, even if they're just covered by algae right now, what you can try to do is to add more plants. Floating plants is the best option because they're easy to remove. Don't get duckweed, get some frog bit, get some, salvinia, get some water lettuce. Because the floating plants can even shade the plants underneath. Even if for those plants covered by blackbeard algae, floating plants can help, based on my experience. The second thing is that do water change. This is the most straightforward way to get rid of the excess nutrients in the water, because if you get algae, that means your plants are not using all those nutrients, which is why the algae got the chance to grow. So you need to get rid of those excess nutrients. Do water change, that's up to you. If you can do it, maybe even once every 2 days until the algae is gone. But also you still make sure that there is at least some nitrates in the water so that your plants can survive, can do fine, not survive. And the third thing is, I would say get a good light, but it doesn't need to be expensive. Just go watch that video I made about Night Crew and the Algae. They're not expensive and they work really well. Look at the tank behind me. Another recommendation I have for you guys is, sometimes it's not your fault. You do everything right to get a good light, you use good substrate, do water change, you don't overfeed, nitrate level in the tank is very good, but your plants still not do well and algae takes over. In this case, sometimes it might just be the plants that you have, the plants you chose to plant in your tank. They're just not meant for your tank. Everybody's tank is different water, different temperature, different lighting, different substrates. So I recommend you to go to the fish store or on Facebook Marketplace, anywhere that you can get aquarium plants. Just try to get different kinds. Just try to find the plants that like your tank condition and just go with those plants. I know sometimes people want to try different plants, but get used to this. It's like a reward to you. You get some plants thrive in your tank, then you're more confident and you have more experience with some other plants. No rush. Fish keeping is always a hobby about patience and diligence. You have to do both. That's why it's a lifetime hobby. And also, I don't personally recommend to use any chemicals to treat algae, because algae is basically, first of all, as I said, it's very healthy. That means your tank is doing well. That's why you got algae. Adding chemicals into your tank is like a drastic change of your water condition. I personally do not like that. But again, this is based on my personal experience. Just give it some time. You need to have patience with this. I also use some chemicals to treat my algae. It worked, but it always comes back. You have to find the root cause. Sometimes the root cause is not something that you can find out right away. It takes some time. So be patient. And algae sometimes look pretty too. Just enjoy. Do not get so obsessed with removing them. They're part of nature. You go to the river, you go to everywhere. There's algae in the ocean. They're everywhere. So just to recap, the easiest way to get rid of algae is make your plants do well. So if you have plants that are doing fine, but still you have algae issue, add more plants. If the plants you have right now are not doing fine and you're getting algae, usually the reason, there are just two causes for that. Either your substrate doesn't have enough nutrients. Second is you have a bad light. Just try to play with those two factors, fix that, and then add more plants. If you have time and you're really bothered by the algae in your tank, if you can hand remove them, try to do that. Otherwise, as I said, enjoy it and just let your plants take care of the algae issue instead of yourself. You can always try to some clean crew. Add some snails like ramhorn snails, neorites. Try some autocinclids, some shrimp. They can help for sure, but just for certain algae though. Again, if your algae is growing faster than they can consume, you're still gonna have algae issue.